Bitter or better? That's the question for Thoughtful Thursday. Bitter or better? Have your challenges made you bitter or better? All right? We have a choice when we go through hard times. We have a choice when we face adversity. We have a choice every day we wake up, you know? Yeah, I saw a beautiful quote that says, peace shows up at your door every morning in the form of choices. Okay? We have the choice to be bitter or to get better. I can speak for myself about my challenges in life, my losses that I've taken. And every time I face a challenge, every time I face a loss, and I've had quite a few, I have chosen to get better. I can start with the loss of my father at a very early age. It taught me a better appreciation for people. It taught me to be more grateful for the people in my life. It taught me to appreciate those people, because it taught me that those people are not guaranteed to be with you your entire life. Could I have been like some people and allowed it to crush my entire soul because my father was my everything? Yes, they could have. But I chose, as opposed to being bitter about it, to get better. I remember when somebody asked me how come I didn't cry at my father's funeral. And I was a young kid, but imagine me giving this answer. If I'm crying, who's helping my mother when she's crying? That was my answer. All right? But that was based off a discussion I had with my father. My father told me that I had to be strong. I had to understand that I had to appreciate the time that we spent, because that was not guaranteed. It was a blessing. And you look at it as such. You don't look at what you lost. You look at it as the privilege for having had it. Okay? Better, not bitter. All right? In my lifetime, I always tell people, I've lost money, I've lost people, I've lost a lot of things. But my perspective on everything that I lose, my perspective on every single hard time is, what do I gain here? Okay? I know I lost that, but what is that? What is it that I gain? If I don't gain anything else but a lesson, right? I get better. Hard times are just a part of life. Okay? But I know so many people that go through hard times, hard situations, maybe even a hard 5 minutes, and they make it the theme song of their lives. Your hard times are not meant to break you. Your hard times are meant to build you up. Your hard times are what, I always say, my hard times galvanized my spirit, fortified my spine. Because once you've been through one hard time, one storm, one loss, one betrayal, one disappointment, and you come out on the other side and you choose to get better, you face the next one with a certain amount of certainty, even though there is uncertainty. But the certainty is that you are certain that you will survive. You are certain that you will make it through. Why? Because you've been through more. You've been through something like this before. And guess what? Even though it might be something brand new and bigger, you have a certain amount of faith in yourself, that you have the capacity, the will, the desire to be better because of this, to be grateful in spite of this, to triumph because you choose to. Once again, every day we wake up, peace, growth, happiness comes and knocks on our door in the form of choices. There's no difference between me and the person who decides to allow their losses to destroy them, except for one thing: I made a different choice, right? I've seen people who have gone to who have gone to war and come back missing legs. Missing legs, no legs. You know, I've seen people born with birth defects. I've seen people lose their entire family to war. And I've seen multiple amounts of those people choose to be better. What is my excuse for being bitter? I have full function of my body. And even if I didn't, I have an example of somebody who has gone through that and they chose to be better. You have that as well. I know sometimes when we go through hard times, it seems as if we're the only one going through it. No one understands. That's not true. A lot of people suffer in silence, and that's why it's so important that when we meet people, we handle people with a certain amount of care, because everybody does not know how to carry that load. Okay, everybody does not know how to weather the storm. But storms do come and go, and you might have just caught that person on the wrong day. One thing to remember, that anything that people do to you, say to you, is usually not a reflection of how they feel about you. It's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And sometimes those people are going through tough times, so handle people with care. If you're one of those people, be mindful. Okay? Be mindful. Make better choices. You're not the only one who has had a bad time, a bad day. You're not the only one who's lost. But what happens is a lot of times the choices we make can compound our problems. Okay? Remember, better, not bitter. Okay? We all are going to go through these storms. We all are going to go through these hard days. Okay? And think about all the hard days you've been through to this point. They've built you. Whether you chose to be bitter or not, there's a certain amount of growth that you experience just going through a hard time. The experience. You can turn it around and look at yourself and be proud of yourself for having made it. Because to this point today, you have made it through 100% of your bad days. 100%. The fact that you stand means that you made it through 100% of your bad days. Even if the struggle still continues, what? You made it through yesterday. And if you change your perspective, you might make it through today in a different way, a better way, a more grateful way. Okay? But it's a choice. So ask yourself once again, have your hard times, or are you allowing your hard times to make you better? Or are you choosing to be bitter? Because that is in your control. No one can bring that out of you but you. No one can make you better. And no one can force you to remain bitter either. You can choose to let it go. All right? You know, a lot of times, like I said, you have to watch your associations. All right? The people who encourage you and to continue to be bitter. You know, there's a lot of people out there who they themselves are bitter. So what they do is they look for people who are bitter in their lives. They look for people who are struggling in their lives, and they look for you to be as bitter as they are. They congratulate you when you're bitter. They give you solace when you're bitter. They help you talk negatively about the situation or the person when you're bitter. Why? Because they're waiting for their turn to tell you about how bitter they are about their lives. Stay away from people like that. When you find yourself being bitter and someone's congratulating you and egging you on and telling you you're right for being bitter, be very mindful. Okay? Because being bitter is always damaging to you. Anger is always damaging to you. Like the quote says, the acid does more harm to the vessel is housed than the person is thrown on. Okay? toxic, exactly is the word. Okay? We're all going to have these hard times. We all are. And I feel sorry for you if this is your first time. And I feel even more sorry for somebody who hasn't seen it yet. If you haven't seen it yet, then prepare yourself. As they say, buckle up, buttercup, because it's going to come. And the main thing that is going to determine you is your choice. Better or bitter. Grateful or resentful. Okay? Hard times are a part of life. Tough times are a part of life. I hope this resonates with people, you know. And we don't get to pick our storms. We don't get to pick our storms. That's another thing. We don't get to pick our storms. And a lot of times, people worry a lot about life, right? And in my experience, 90% of the things we worry about never happen. We waste 90% of our time worrying about things that never materialize. All right? It's the things we never thought about that hamstring us. Okay? It's the things we never thought about that hamstring us. Sometimes they break you down to the very soul, and I've sat there many a times and said to myself, oh man, why me? Why this? Why now? And then I catch myself and say, well, as my famous line, I say, well, we're going to thug this one out. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to thug it out. We're going to figure out what we did wrong. We're not going to do that anymore. And we're going to take what we have now and we're going to move forward. All right? And a lot of times, the hardest part of hard times is letting go. Letting go of the disappointment, letting go of the betrayal, letting go of the situation. And a lot of times people hang on to situations that have long let them go. They hang on to people that have long let them go. They stay stuck in the past, and the past is not going to change. They miss their opportunity to change the present. Why? Because they put too much energy in the past. And every day spent reminiscing about yesterday, wishing it could have been, hoping it could have been, is a waste of today and a mismanagement of your chances for tomorrow. Always choose to be better. All right? All right, so something to think about, right? So anyway, I hope everybody has a fantastic, thoughtful Thursday. And go to the post and comment if this is you. If you've chosen to be better and not bitter. Comment and share it with somebody. We all know somebody who has gone through a tough time and they're choosing the wrong thing. They're choosing the bitterness. They're choosing the resentment. They're choosing to remain stuck. Okay? And hopefully this will help them make a different choice. All right? Yeah. Hopefully it will. Someone says, I can be my own worst abuser. A lot of times we are. A lot of times we are our own worst abuser. A lot of times we actually, in our reminiscing of the situation, we make the situation worse than what it really was. As a matter of fact, sometimes we compound the situation by continuing to go back at it. It's almost like a cut or a sore that we keep touching that would have healed, but now it gets infected. It scars, it keloids. Why? Because we wouldn't leave it alone. A lot of times that's the same thing with situations that's gone wrong in our lives. Okay? We keep going over it and over it and over it and over it. And guess what? We're missing the opportunity to let it get better. It always gets better. But it's a choice. You have to allow it to get better. You have to see the better of it. You have to focus on the healing, the better of it, and stop being stuck on the pain and the bitterness of it, the resentment of it. All right? And stop thinking that the world owes you. The world doesn't owe you. This is going to happen to everybody. You're not the first. You will not be the last. Okay? Always choose to be better. Because bitter is just not the move. It never ends out well for you. It's a waste of your life. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy. It'll consume your beauty. I know some people walking around. I knew a young lady. She was beautiful, beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. But the amount of bitterness that she houses has aged her. She aged 20 years in 10 years. Bitterness. For something you can't change. For something actually that she had a large part in causing. That's another thing. Figure out what you did wrong. And maybe the thing is that a lot of times people don't have the humility to admit their fault. Because you realize if you can admit your fault in things, the bitterness you spread it evenly, and then you forgive yourself, and then you move on. And if it is not, like I always say, if it wasn't your fault, even better, then why are you stuck on it? Take the lesson and move on. But being bitter will destroy you on the inside and the outside. It will destroy your chances. A bitter person, I met another young lady not too long ago, gorgeous girl. But you could see the bitterness was just coming out of her pores. Something happened to her in the past. It was like, it was like a stench. And people who have good common sense don't even want to be around that. It literally is like a stench. When you walk around bitter, your face scowled up, the way how you answer things, the way you approach people, right? You're damaging yourself. You're damaging everything you touch. And it's so not worth it. It's not worth it to you. You deserve to give yourself better if only you would allow yourself to make better choices. Do that.